This is the Authority Company Podcast, conversations with leaders who are building the future. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and today I'm joined by Brad Lekang, executive coach and creator of the Cloudberry Coaching Method, a neuroscience-informed framework designed to help people design, build, and launch a next big chapter. His new book, The Cloudberry Coaching Method, explores what happens when successful people realize achievement alone isn't enough, and why real transformation comes from aligning your identity, values, and actions with the life you actually want to build. Brad Lekang, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you. I'm really excited.
Me too, Brad. And I need to start with a sort of almost a random aside. And your, what some would say, unhealthy obsession with national parks. How many national parks have you been to in the course of your lifetime, Brad?
Well, I am counting, and it's 46 national parks and 34 national monuments. So I'm up to 80 if you include the monuments.
And tell me about this. I called it an obsession. I apologize if you took that the wrong way, but where did that come from?
You know, I grew up in Minnesota, Boy Scout with my dad, going up to the Boundary Waters and Voyageurs National Park. And it was just imprinted in my DNA to be connected to nature, to ecosystems, um, wildlife advocacy, conservancy. And it's just a place where I find I can regulate, I can get mindful, and then I can come back and continue the big work that I'm doing in my life. So it's just a part of my life.
I love it, and it's very grandiose, and it dovetails perfectly into what your life's mission is now, which is you're creating your own coaching methodology, which I think for a lot of people, I don't know if I'm projecting on you, but would feel like almost imposter syndrome. Like, wait, who am I to develop a new coaching program? And there are many coaching programs with very successful. Why should I create my own? Or again, maybe
Yeah.
I'm projecting myself onto you. But
Yeah.
did that come up in terms of as you came in? And we're going to get into how you got here, but like
Yeah.
deciding to create one,
Yep.
how did it all come about?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, that's one reason many people come to coaching. And it's usually someone else's voice. And you have to question if that's true or not, first of all. And what got me here is when I decided to leave the big corporate world and go solopreneur, I searched around for methodologies that would fit my clientele. My clientele wanted certain things from me as a coach. And you can either build it, you can buy it, or you can grow it. And I decided to build it and grow it because I truly wasn't finding what I wanted out there in the marketplace. And I wasn't able to serve my clients well. And over time, I built a methodology and a strategy and tools and an approach that has served my clients really well. And that's what got me here in a nutshell. It's not necessarily a problem meets solution. It's client needs meet this coaching methodology.
Interesting. And so, to borrow an entrepreneur cliche, were you building the plane as you were flying it? Because it sounds like you were working with folks,
Yeah,
but in almost like on a parallel track, you were also developing this methodology. Was that actually happening?
that's a great metaphor. And that is what was happening. It was built in an agile type of way, iterating through things that worked and didn't work, and learning with feedback and data and feeding it back into designing what worked, building it while the plane is flying, so to speak, and launching what does work into the world. And equally as important to determine what doesn't work, then put that to the side and focus my attention on what does work, and then do the feedback in the data loop again. So absolutely, it was an agile approach, an iterative approach, and it was definitely built while the plane was flying.
Love that. And so if we step back a little bit, look at your career, and you were very humble, but you've worked with some major brands over the course of your life, Apple, Visa, Target, all those folks. What was missing in a corporate structure that you find fulfills you? And I know that's a word that's very easily thrown around now in
Hmm.
HR people circles, the word
Yeah.
fulfilled. but what's fulfilling you now that
Yeah,
wasn't fulfilling you? Not, again, not
I
to
love that.
besmirch any of those other experiences. I'm sure that it was an amazing place to work,
Uh,
but
yeah,
obviously something was missing. So tell me
yeah,
what you found.
yeah. What what I grew into was autonomy and to have the flexibility that I wanted to devote to my changing family needs, to no longer have to live in San Francisco and Silicon Valley to work at these companies. And also it allowed me to create a structure that fulfilled my it led to my ability to achieve my dreams of launching my own thing, building my own thing, creating my own thing. And then it got legs of its own and it built upon itself. And then the idea of the book came. The book is finished. And this is all because I wanted more autonomy over where I lived, what I worked on, who I worked with, and having the amount of time to spend on my family's changing needs.
I love that. And I've made a lot of friends of folks in your sphere who went from a corporate world to creating either a coaching or speaking platform, authorship. And there is sort of that liminal space that happens from when you walk away from that to this, where you're like the brass tacks of it all. Like, do I have enough money in my bank account? How am I going to pay for health insurance? And I think that is the deterrent for many people to not make that jump because of all these other factors. What was that space like when you made the jump to what you're doing today? Stressful? Did you plan ahead? Tell me. Yeah, I know a
Yeah,
lot of the stuff you said we're doing on the fly,
right.
but like, were you ready to make that jump? Not only like spiritually, like but the
Yeah.
actual physical side of it.
I don't think we're ever really ready until we take the leap and we realize often that we were ready. And for me, it was the money was the money always comes up in coaching. It's probably not the reason people come to coaching, but it always comes up.
Sure.
Um, I have a scarcity mindset that I never have enough. And I have to look at that with my coach and realize that's not true. I have enough. I have everything I need. I have a lot of what I want. People have different relationships with money, and it's a big part of am I going to have enough? But also the healthcare piece is a big sticky point. And what if something happens? You know that I think it's really flipping the script from living from a place of what I could possibly grow into as opposed to, oh my God, what might happen? And flipping that script and planning a few years ahead, which is what I did.
Yeah.
My relationship with money is my dad speaking to me right now. If you want it, work your ass off for it, and you better save your money. And I've done a pretty good job of that over the years. So I saved for a number of years and jumped into this sphere where the income was consistently inconsistent and I had to get used to that
Yeah.
and not having the regular paycheck. And but Joe, the larger things that I did not anticipate were the change in my identity
Mm.
and how challenging it was to look at myself as someone who was no longer an Apple employee. The paycheck, the validation, the prestige, the lifestyle, and someone who is off here being a solopreneur who's fielding a lot of questions from my family, especially about
Sure.
what are you doing and you're leaving and are you crazy? But yet doing what my heart and my intuition and really my vision for how I want my life to be aligns and integrates with that.
Yeah, that identity piece is tough because I spent basically my entire adult life working in radio in New York City. Then one day the radio station was sold, got blown up, and I was no longer Joe from WPLJ. Like it's and I'm sure you've probably felt this before, where like your company becomes sort of like your new surname. Like you're no longer just
Yep.
Brad, you're Brad from Apple. And I remember there was
Yes.
this guy who popped up on my LinkedIn feed a little while ago. He was like you probably didn't work with him. I don't remember his name, but he worked on like the music side of Apple. And he said, for years, if I sent an email to someone or got a phone call, I would get a reply within 30 seconds. And then I believe Apple sunsetted his program and he was let go. And then he started reaching out to those people again, and he wasn't getting those same responses.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of saw that to not that grand extent because I
Yeah.
wasn't working for Apple, but what was that sort of transition like for you? Because I'm sure your friends were still your friends, but then, as you have work friends who are
Yeah.
sort of like friends up
Yep.
until a point that you serve a use.
Yes.
What was that part
Absolutely.
like?
It's those tethers are strong when you're there, and they dry up really fast when you're gone. Really fast. When I worked at Apple or even Target, Target is a big employer in
Sure.
Minneapolis, and and when I worked there, yes, it was constantly, "Can you get me in touch with this recruiter? What's this? Do you know anyone in this area?" And helping connect people and yeah, get people what they needed. And I found that there are certain people that are here for a short period of time, some that are here for a season, and you really find out who are here for your entire life. And that whittles down to a smaller number of people. And it makes sense. It makes sense. You have to do what you have to do to get things done and be productive. And it is often about knowing people and being able to get work done through people and advance things through people. And, my neighbors in San Francisco, like across the way, worked for Microsoft, and down the way were Amazon, and next door worked for Google. And, and that was just the sphere that we were in. And when you're no longer in that sphere, um, it dries up really fast. I wasn't prepared for how much effort I would need to put into, building connection as an entrepreneur, as, a way to combat loneliness. It can be really lonely going from managing global teams with direct reports and all the visibility and all the validation to, woo, all of a sudden you're building and leading it all on your own, and you have to come up with your own tools. So, I get that, and the work that I've done with my coach, I've had a coach for 10 years, and I will always have a coach. And the work that I've done is on my identity, on my mission, which is to facilitate growth. It's 2 words. The values that anchor me in the rough waves and the calm waters, but also what my purpose is. And when you're anchored in these things, the rest of it becomes so much easier, and the flow comes back, and that validation that we all want as humans. We all need it. It comes back, and the path becomes more clear. And so yeah, it's something that I coach people on around retiring or not retiring. They're getting the nudge to, "Hey, you've been here a long time. Maybe what are you thinking about doing,
Next.
after the nudge that we could hire 3 people for your salary, and they would work around the clock like I used to, like we used to." And that nudge comes up, and it's, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go to a new company? Do I change roles? Do I semi-retire? Do I retire? Um, and people can spin in that proverbial roundabout, have so many options that they it's not being stuck, it's like being in perpetual motion around all these options. And it's a really hard thing to think about what life is going to be like after these big corporations and these big jobs and the validation and the tethers. And it changes really fast.
Is that sort of the, elevator pitch for the Cloudberry coaching method? Did you kind of, like, segue into that very, smoothly? Is that essentially what you're doing? Is that the method?
That is, the method can be applied to that.
Okay.
Absolutely. The method can be my core niche is executive coaching and leadership development. And people also come to me for things in their personal life, like entrepreneurs. I see where you've been, Brad, and I want to be where you've been. Or you've done it, and I see what you're doing now, and I want to hire you as a coach to help me get there. So this is in the business category. You walk into a bookstore, it's going to be on the business leadership coaching development bookshelf.
Sure.
This can really be applied to the executive space, leadership development, to the entrepreneurial space, and it goes into the personal coaching space as well. I've never coached anyone that hasn't brought their personal life into the coaching space. No one. It, some people are really good about keeping their workspace out of their personal lives and drawing that boundary. I was never one of them. It's been a lot of work for me. But everyone brings their personal life in. So the holistic type of things that come in, like I have had imposter syndrome my whole life, or I've always been successful, and now there's a change happening, and who am I? Those kind of things come in, and then family changes come in too. People will come to me when their children are off to college, and I can finally look at my role at work and start thinking about what I want. And many people don't know who they are once the kids are gone, and because that's what you got to focus on. So I think of it as a number of concentric circles, with the niche being the executive leadership, and then it expands outward. And so it could be retirement, it could be a millennial who sees what they like and what they don't like. They've had enough experience, and they'll hire me to help them figure out what's next. And but it's also people that are in the space of, I've reached a summit. What's the next summit? I'm not going to throw it all in. I want to get to the next summit in my career, in my company. And often those summits are on a different mountain range for visual there. And a coach can help you with that vision and direction and goal setting, pushing through the doubts and the limiting beliefs, and help you with clarity. And then we can build and launch what's coming next. But if you jump to the launch part first, the risk is that you're gonna be out there with something that you've built that doesn't align with with what you want, what fulfills you, what drives you, and then it's not sustainable.
That's great. And so, for the folks that work with you who fall in that sort of concentric circle you're talking about, uh, I want to give a little like sort of level set in terms of like people who are interested in finding coach, hiring a coach. And pardon me if I may be crass, but how does it transactionally work these days with coaching? Do you call up a coach and be like, "Hey, I want you to be my coach," and then you guys decide like, do I send?
Yeah.
Is it monthly installments? Is it quarterly? Do I
Mhm.
pay up front? I apologize.
Yeah.
I know people are curious because when this pops up on someone's feed about finding a coach, I'll be like, "Okay, cool. I love the idea. I
Yeah.
love the song that Brad is singing." But like, how does it actually work when it comes down to the actual transaction side of it?
Yeah. That is such a great question. And it depends on the coach. Um, Coaching is not like therapy or consulting, where some of it is regulated. It's it's a world where the coach can kind of build their own structure. And the majority of my clients have been referrals. Um, that's how I've built most of my business. And then people will return, and then they'll refer people. And the way it works, the way I've seen it work is, people will reach out to someone that they know that has seen benefit from working with a coach, and they'll refer them to their company to hire them to coach their executive leader who's in a new position. and they want to give them something that's going to benefit them and help them be successful. How it works for me is I don't have an hourly rate because we live in an instant gratification world. Instant grat is where it's at. And people want the results now, especially the leaders I work with, the tech leaders, people in the corporate world. We're on a quarterly type of structure. Are you getting your results each quarter or even each month? And transformation and real growth takes more time than that. I've seen it over and over with hundreds of people that I've coached. And I don't do an hourly rate because, number one, I don't want to set the expectation that we're going to have a few sessions and then boom, you're going to be transformed and off and running. Number two, people come to me with really big changes in their life. Like, I have been thinking about retiring and I've just been spinning, and you worked with my friend Joe and he loved working with you. Okay, how long have you been thinking about retiring? 3 years. It's these big things that have been churning. And my average tenure with a client is about 2 years. I have a 6-month contract and I have a 1-year contract. There are people that will do hourly based type of coaching. And if someone just needs a quick help or something getting through a short term type of thing, it's great. It's just not it's not the kind of coaching that I enjoy doing. And I also really want people to have sustainable results. When we're done, I want you to be off and running on your own. And I want this to stick and be sustainable for you. And the neuroscience backs it up. That's how I operate. I know coaches that have 3-month contracts, 1-year contracts. Some of them are 6-month contracts. Here's my rate, cancel anytime. Some are only 1-year contracts. If you cancel midway through and you find it's not working for you, sorry, you're on the hook for all of it.
Right. Okay.
Um,
All right. Well, cool.
yeah.
I appreciate you indulging me because I think a lot of people are, I think, skittish when it comes into that world of like, what does it
Yes.
involve? And so I thank you very much. And on top of that, I want to double click a little bit because you see coaches and then you see mentorship programs.
Yes.
What
Yes.
would you, as someone on the coaching side, what's the
Yep.
differentiator from a coach to a mentor?
Yes.
Like the program side of it, not
Yep.
not
Great.
not someone you meet in your real life, but someone you actually hire to be a mentor. I had a friend of
Yeah.
mine who for years was one of these people that would do like the sort of like dip into like a program where they would sign up for a couple weeks or they would go and
Mhm.
sign up for like a virtual class. And then finally he was like, someone had told him about this mentorship program that was going to cost him $20,000. And he said that the day he was going to do it, he had his hand hover over the mouse for like
Yep.
5 minutes. Like time stood still. He's like, I don't know if this is gonna be the right decision I make. He ended
Yep.
up going forward, and it changed his life. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he finally put his stuff into action.
Yep.
So just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, tell me about coaching
Yeah.
and I mean
One thing I'd like to add to that is I see people get turned away from coaching that are doing great things in the world that I really, really that inspire me. And roughly 25% of my coaching is pro bono. I coach a number of executive directors and nonprofits that align with what I love in the world. And it's pro bono because they don't have the budget, there are cuts. Uh, so that's what I do. And I do know a number of coaches that do that as well. So I want people to hear this and think I can get coaching if I shop around and if I ask. For me, it's do I want to work with you? Are you doing good things in the world? Okay, here's my schedule. Let's go. And I want to call that out as well, because I think that's just as important. And regarding coaching and mentoring, that's a good question. Mentoring sits kind of in this space where we're looking forward. someone comes to you and is like, I want to develop this skill, or I've got this project, or I want to build this business. And the mentor will impart their wisdom. And this is how I did it. And here are the roadblocks you're going to have. And maybe here are a few solutions for you to consider. And here are some references. And why don't you talk to a few of my contacts, and you give them kind of a roadmap that looks forward. It's based on that mentor's viewpoint in the world
Okay.
and how they've seen things. And I've had some great mentors. When I was at Target, I had my first set of mentors, and really changed my professional world. It was the first time I've ever had that kind of thing. And when I went to Apple, it's the first time I'd had coaches. And that completely changed things for me too. The difference between mentorship and coaching is that in the coaching world, I'm inquiring more so. I'm asking questions. I'm reflecting back things that I see and that I hear. And we're working together to reach from point A to point B, which is never linear.
Sure.
And the coach is primarily, in a pure sense, is asking and forward looking. The mentor is, in a pure sense, directing and forward looking. Now, in my real world, outside of the pure sense, people come to me because they've seen my background and what I've accomplished and they see something in me. And I believe the best coaching relationships are look for someone who has been where you want to be, or they have what you want, or they're going where you want to go. And so that mentoring comes in. It it comes in a bit. The question comes up, I can ask you, so Joe, what's your vision for this? Joe, what are the possibilities we can find from this? What kind of patterns? Brad, what would you do? The question always comes up. Brad, I hired you because you did this and this and this. And the response is, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to put on my mentor hat and share what worked for me. And you can accept it or you can toss it in the garbage. So mentoring does come up a bit. And yeah, I've seen this before. This is what I did. Here's how I handled it. See if it works in your organization. That's the best explanation that I can give you.
That's good. Good stuff. I want to ask you because you mentioned the word neuroscience before, and I know a lot of your work involves neuroscience. Tell me about the tech bro culture. I know
Yeah.
it goes back to life hacking, this obsession.
Mm,
I guess I don't have a good word for obsession, but it's
yeah.
almost like they're leaning on neuroscience to make decisions. And I know a lot of it goes to the fact because neuroscience does provide like actual data. But you look at like the top podcasts in the world and the business space, half of them are like PhDs, neuroscience people talking to executive leaders and kind of playing to that audience.
Yeah.
What's that all about? Because I know it's a big part of what you do too. You do
Yep.
involve neuroscience in your work. Can you just tell me, like, take me behind the curtain as to why
Yeah.
that's exploded so much in that world?
Yeah. I think it's exploded because the research is really starting to catch up with coaching and growth and change, and how important it is to integrate neuroscience, our body into that. There's just so much new research that is coming out about that. I use it because I'm a systems guy, I'm an engineer. I worked in environments where you need to challenge or give up your seat to someone who will. You need to have a point of view, even if you're the only person in the room. As long as you can back it up, that's okay. But if you're just sitting there and you're coasting along, give up your seat to someone else in the room. So when I started in coaching, I looked at it as prove it to me. Prove to me why this works. And I got that from neuroscience. That's where I do it. This is it. Science is what I believe in, research, data, and it showed why coaching works so well, how it works. And to answer your question, I think it's really because the research is really starting to catch up around this. And coaching is a bit of a nascent profession. It used to be, hey, you have a coach. Oh, I have a performance problem. That's what coaching was. It's no longer that. It's a perk because people see, oh, no, this is what we need as leaders to grow. So my coaching journey was setting a foundation and going to the Collective Training Institute, which is one of the gold standards of coaching. And from there, I went on to dive into a niche of neuroscience around coaching. And I was trained by two masterful neuroscience coaches, Ursula and Ann. They have their own company called Be Above Leadership, and they're considered two of the foremost researchers in the world. They consolidate and gather all of the information. They've created these coaching tools. That's my niche in a sense. I bring in my executive coaching experience. I bring in neuroscience-based tools that I've learned from them that have done all of this work. But I also bring in just my real world experience, which people like. And it works. The reason it's having such a moment is because it works. And it works at helping us be more effective in our job. It helps us be change quicker, but also with more sustainability. But also, Joe, there are tools that help us in a chaotic world. And many of my clients come to me, will start, where are you right now? It's baseline, chaos. And there are neuroscience-based tools that can help us get out of chaos, get into a place where we have some structure and we have some meaning. And the payoff is that we're in that zone where we're creating and the logic is flowing and the intuition is flowing. And I think that's what these tech guys are seeking with the neuroscience and the microdosing, which is not something I'm familiar with.
All right.
However, they're seeking, how can I be the most creative, logical, intuitive part of myself, and hacking to get to that space. And these neuroscience tools can help us get there.
Nice. Cool. Thank you. Thank you again for indulging me on that, because I was always fascinated by the fact how, man, they really dig this stuff, and it's turning into famous and wealthy people because of the fact
Yeah.
that people are really after it. So if someone is listening or watching this, Brad, and they feel deeply stuck right now, what's the first thing you'd want them to stop doing today so they can actually begin with their next chapter? Is there something they could stop doing? Because we always talk about action, like, we always say action is better than inaction. But let's see, like, let's talk about
Yeah.
stopping something. What can they stop doing that will prepare them for that next chapter?
Someone is stuck. What do they need to stop doing? The first thing they need to do is they need to be aware of where they are at this moment. Much of this is about awareness of, I'm stuck. Here are the perspectives. And we dive into that to determine, are you doing, and not focusing on your larger meaning? Are you focusing on your larger meaning and dreaming so much that you are not getting anything done? It's about having a conversation or two and figuring out where they are as a baseline today, and then asking, where can you focus your attention to get you toward your goal or the vision that you have? And then also, what are a couple things that you can stop doing? Stop going home and then sitting on the couch after work. Creating a habit where I've packed my gym bag, it's in my car, and now I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to stop doing that because now I'm starting to build these habits. So it's a bigger answer to that question.
Right.
And a lot of times it does come down to the habits that you're building, and the neuroscience part can really come in and can really help us sustain those habits going forward.
That's great. His name is Brad Lekang. The book, The Cloudberry Coaching Method: Design, Build, and Launch Your Next Chapter. Brad, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
And that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to find out more information about Brad and our other amazing authors, go to theauthoritycompany.com.